Hey Julia, what does an early education center and Argentina in the World Cup have in common?
I don't know.
They both give you a chance to see Messi play.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm a Level 3 qualified early years educator and an early education editor here at Family.
I'm Aaron. I'm also an early education editor at Family, and I still play with my food. This week, we're talking about sensory play, what it is, why it works, and when to be mindful of how we use it. Sensory input can aid learning and development and help with children's self-regulation, but at the same time, not every topic needs to be condensed into a sensory bin. So here are the 3 big questions we'll explore in this video. Number 1, when to use sensory play and when to skip it. Number 2, what is sensory play? And number 3, sensory play and self-regulation.
Often when we think about sensory play, our thoughts go to a sand tray or a sensory bin of oobleck. But sensory play actually happens in lots of different ways.
If we start to think beyond the 5 senses, touch, sight, sound, smell, and taste, we can see how many activities involve sensory play too. For example, thermoception, our ability to sense temperature, equilibrioception, or vestibular sense, our ability to balance, and proprioception, our awareness of our own bodies. All of these play a huge part in the activities that we deliver to children. And sensory play doesn't have to mean messy play. Sure, mud and Play-Doh and paint all make amazing sensory resources, but sensory play can also mean children running different fabrics through their fingers, or exploring sound and light, or smelling the scents of your setting's herb garden.
Engaging children's senses builds neural connections as they explore their environment, experimenting with different media and materials. So, the more diverse resources we can provide, the more opportunity for exploration and learning. Something as simple as switching up flour and sand in your sensory tray can lead to the exploration of so many different concepts and new vocabulary. Does the flour or the sand feel smoother or warmer? Are the individual grains big or small? Do you have a lot or a little bit in your sieve? Does one flow faster than the other? Can I have a go on the sieve after you, please? And it just feels nice, which brings us neatly onto part 2.
Often, as adults, we do something just because it feels nice. Whether you listen to your favorite song or eat your favorite treat, we often do things purely for the sensory experience. And that goes for children too. Not everything has to be about what vocabulary or concepts you can introduce. Sensory play is valuable just because it makes children happy.
And sensory play can be used in aiding self-regulation. Calming sensory play, such as watching the glitter swell through a sensory bottle while taking deep breaths, can help a child feel regulated after an experience that made them feel sad or angry. Similarly, sometimes children can feel so excited or energetic that they need sensory play like climbing to help them work off all that energy and help them feel regulated and grounded again. And sensory-seeking behaviours when trying to self-regulate don't end in the early years. Think about how you might have had a comforting bit of chocolate after a hard day, or a tight hug from someone to help you feel better.
We're talking about sensory experiences. It's also important to think about sensory overload. While some sensory input can help us feel calmer or more able to self-regulate, other kinds of sensory input can do the opposite. Think frequently about all the sensory stimuli in your room at your setting, and if something needs to change. Can you smell a really strong perfume, or maybe the diaper bin? Is there a natural light, or is there artificial strip lighting? Is it loud and echoey, or is it nice and quiet? Is there music playing all the time? Does the room look cluttered and busy, or are the resources laid out in an accessible, inviting way? Considering how these different toys and play provocations you provide stimulate children's senses is a really important part of how you choose what to offer in your provision. All of these things can potentially be overwhelming to young children, especially those who are sensitive to sensory input, and it can affect their well-being and behavior. It pays to be considerate when thinking about sensory play and sensory stimuli.
Leading us neatly onto part 3. In the early years, we can sometimes over-sensory tray things that would better be delivered or taught in another way. Sensory play can absolutely support children to discover new concepts and deepen their learning, but there are things that require some context or nuance, like religious or important cultural celebrations that ideally wouldn't be distilled down into a sensory tray. And you don't need to worry about fake mud for messy play. When you can ditch those extra ingredients, just go for the real thing. In the past, I've offered cotton wool in a winter sensory tray, but if my aim was to introduce snow to the children, cotton wool doesn't meet that learning outcome. There's nothing wrong with cotton wool as a sensory resource, but I could have added freezer blocks to demonstrate the temperature, or ice for the texture. Or better yet, just taking the children outside in the snow.
Whipping out the messy play trays can actually sometimes limit play simply by containing all your resources in one place. Like any resource, you've got to think about why you're offering the provision that you are. And it's also important to think really carefully about the type of materials you use in sensory play. If you're making treasure baskets for babies, for example, consider the kinds of resources that can safely be mouthed. And while some sources do suggest that sensory food play can support children to eat more fruit and vegetables, some people might think playing with food could be viewed as wasteful. And we've got to consider allergies as well. How do you deliver sensory experiences in your setting? Tell us in the comments below.
And for more early years content and practice inspiration, you can sign up to the family newsletter written by me.
Or me.
Bye.